So I was talking to this guy, and he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind, and fire's going to start in the right place, and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean, and there's not a thing we can do about it.
That was Joe Rogan's prediction back in June or July of 2024. And quite frankly, and unfortunately, it was a very easy prediction to make because of all the crap that the Democrat leadership has been involved in over these past few years regarding their ignorance on how to prevent fires there in California and how to better protect their citizens. In fact, I'm going to tell you in today's broadcast that these fires are deliberate. And I mean deliberate through the incompetence of the leadership there in California. I'm so sick and tired of our government being completely useless. They are. They don't get literally anything right. And this just goes to show that. Now, I want to also just say this. My heart and prayers go out to the family members, anyone that's been impacted by that fire. I want you to know I am praying for you. My family's praying for you. And I'm so sorry you had to go through this. My heart is with you. And I know I've got some listeners likely involved in all of that. So I just want you to know my prayers are with you guys. Now, before I get into how deliberate this is, I've got to give a big shout out to my sponsor, Noble Gold Investments, by going to lisahavengold.com. Look, right now, gold, silver, and precious metals, these all are things that have maintained their value. We never know what tomorrow holds, and that is why I'm a huge supporter of Noble Gold Investments. Look, China right now has bought up a ton of gold because they know gold maintains its value. I cannot stress that enough. If you guys want to protect yourselves and your family, give them a call today at the number on the screen, or fill out this information on lisahavengold.com. Click Get My Free Guide, and they're going to send you that free gold and silver investment guide. Make sure you mention my name, by the way, if you call them, because they are giving away up to this 1/4 ounce silver coin there that you see on the screen. So make sure that you mention my name. It's got the amazing eagle on the back there. But with that, there's always a risk to investing. There's never a guarantee. And if you want more information, click that more button if you're on your cell phone, or click the link in the description box below. All right. So let's get into just how deliberate this chaos and these fires actually are. And again, deliberate through freaking incompetence. Let's start with the first incompetence person involved in this. How about the LA Mayor Karen Bass? Take a look at this. New York Post, LA Mayor Karen Bass cut fire department funding by $17.6 million. She focused on homeless spending instead, months before wildfire turned the city into a hellscape. And by the way, that money that she set aside for the population, well, it largely went unspent. Let's just cut all the budget from the fire department, give it to the homeless that we're not really going to spend. It's almost as if she's either A, really stupid, or it's being done on purpose. Hey, speaking of the mayor, where was she during the fire?
If you're wondering where is LA Mayor Karen Bass, she's been in Ghana. So she's apparently on her way back. That's why we have not seen her on the scene. We saw Governor Newsom at the scene earlier. We know that President Biden happens to be in town, but we have not seen him on camera with all of this.
Ghana, that's right. Not even in the freaking country. Oh, she's back now doing some photo ops, I'm sure. But speaking of more incompetence, there's a lot more incompetence I can talk about the mayor there. But let's talk about the fire chief, right? She's supposed to be one of the ones really involved in this. But what was she worried more about during her reign? Was she more worried about fires or something else? Take a listen.
I'm super inspired.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I said, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300 city firefighters, only 115 are women right now. She's already looking at ways to change that. She's quick to point out that doing so has a greater purpose, attracting the best and brightest for the job.
So the LA Fire Department was more worried about increasing diversity than anything else. No wonder these fires kind of got out of hand. It's like they're In that case, I think pure incompetence. But hey, speaking of pure incompetence, let's take a look at this, right? Because we could add to this. And I found this on Libs of TikTok. The LA Fire Department passed a racial equality plan to end systemic, institutional, and structural racism. And here is the LA part of its chart to map out the race of every employee. That kind of sounds racist to me, to make sure they're diverse enough. No joke. They sat there and took the race. How many whites, blacks, Hispanics, Mexicans, whatever do we have? Let's make sure we're diverse enough. I can't even make this stuff up. But hey, there's even more to the story, right? How about they joined efforts to send their surplus of supplies that we could be using right now to freaking Ukraine? Yeah, this is it. Take a look. This is the County of Los Angeles Fire Department. The LACO Fire Department joins the national effort to help first responders in Ukraine. How did they do that? Well, on Thursday, March 17th, 2022, the LA County Fire Department joined the 4th District LA County Supervisor there, and here's all her information. They would join the national effort to gather and donate the surplus equipment and gear overseas to help first responders in the country of Ukraine. Surplus items such as hoses, nozzles, turnouts, helmets, body armor, and other associated personal protective equipment will be collected and sent to assist with the shortage. What about our shortage happening right now? Could we have used any of that? I'm just saying, right? They're sending our stuff literally to another country. Oh, and I'm hearing too that there's not enough firefighters. Now, why would that be? Right? Take a look at this article. Oh, you guys probably know where I'm going. But the Gateway Pundit, LA official complains there aren't enough firefighters to fight the fires after firing hundreds of them who refused to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Maybe you should, do something about that. Maybe you should have never have done that in the first place, especially considering the massive amount of fire risk that California harbors. Wow, this is insane. But hey, you know what? It actually gets worse. They're out of water. And there's not enough water in the reservoirs or the fire hydrants.
But their hands have been tied, and they can't fight a fire without water and the resources that are needed. Everybody knew these winds were coming. The other question has to be, were all the things in place to try to, again, mitigate the damage here? But the real issue to me is twofold. We've had decades to go remove the brush in these hills that spread so quickly. And the second is, you got to have water. And my understanding is the reservoir was not refilled in time and in a timely manner to keep the hydrants going. So that's a failure, whether on DWP's part or another city agency. But this is basic stuff. This isn't high science here. And it's all about leadership and management that we're seeing a failure of. And all of these residents are paying the ultimate price for that.
That was going to be my next question, is why isn't there water in the fire hydrants? That doesn't make any sense.
You're right. It's a good question. And I think you should start asking, why don't you call the mayor who's out of the country and ask her?
No water in the fire hydrants. Isn't there a protocol or something in place where you make sure that in the event of a disaster, they can access water through the fire hydrants? And hey, why are the reservoirs not being refilled? Oh, you want to know why? I'll tell you why. You see, there was this thing a little while back of these little fishies that they were trying to protect. So, they use the resources for the little fishies. So let's just, we're not going to refill the reservoir because we're trying to save the fish. It's almost as if it's done on purpose, deliberately, or just plain stupidity. Right? It's like they want that to happen. Oh, speaking of, let me show you this little nugget. Fire and Fury, and I'm sorry, I'm a little pissed today. Overpaid bureaucrat responsible for filling up the fire hydrants, back to the fire hydrants in LA, rakes in a good $750,000 per year, the highest paid employee. In fact, she was paid more money than any other person, far more money, that did the same job. And the hydrants are empty in some cases. I have a middle finger I want to give to these people. Oh, and on that note, how about the insurance company canceling hundreds of residents there? We have this. Gateway Pundit: State Farm cancels hundreds of Pacific Palisades homeowners' policies before the wildfire struck. The reason that they gave is because they're going to be so financially hit they can't afford them, and it would make their entire State Farm close down for financial failure. Right? But the truth is, the reason I think that it wasn't just State Farm, by the way, there were multiple ones that dropped homeowners. And they did that because they're not deforesting anymore. You've got power lines. The power companies aren't even able to, in some cases, clear the forest underneath the power lines, which is standard stuff, because they're all worried about green and everything else. They're not cleaning the forests. In fact, Donald Trump, years ago, warned little Mr. Newsom about all of it. Take a listen.
It's cleaned out and protected. You've got to take care of the floors, the floors of the forests, very important. You look at other countries where they do it differently, and it's a whole different story. I was with the president of Finland, and he said, we have a much different, we're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation. And they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem. So I know everybody's looking at that, to that end, and it's going to work out.
Maybe Gavin Newsom should quit, right? I think he should resign. None of the forest hasn't been cleaned appropriately. That was a prior fire. That was a prior thing. And Donald Trump told him, you got to clean this out. I done told you. I'm sorry if you live in California. I really am. I really am. But this is what incompetence does. He knew back with the prior fire that he needed to clean the forest, but they didn't do that. They're too worried about minnows and green things to focus on the real problem. By the way, again, I'm sorry if I'm upset, but I really am upset. This is a useless government. What the hell do we pay them for? What the hell do we pay them for? These people are having massive devastation. And by the way, I gotta make this statement. I was gonna pull up information, but on the Dan Bongino show just yesterday, he brought up the fact that these victims of Hurricane Helene, right, who lost their homes, were just told that even though they lost their homes, they still have to pay their property taxes. Useless government. Right? I wonder what's going to happen in California. Oh, remember, you still have to pay your property taxes. Give us our money when we do nothing. They're useless. Anyhow, I'm sorry if I went on a tangent. But with that, I want to encourage you, get to restrictedrepublic.com. You're going to want to get here. Justice Night just put out a huge report on the fires, but more of on the ground, what's going on, and footage. Get to restrictedrepublic.com right now to watch that exclusive Restricted Republic report. Very heartfelt report, and you're going to want to see it. But use the coupon code Lisa and the number 5 to get it for $5 per month. Anyhow, I love you guys. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.